It's Thursday, the 1st of September 2022. Welcome to the Fast Five by Fear and Greed, where we give you the top 5 business stories you need to know in just 5 minutes. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Good morning, Michael.
Sean, 5 stories to rip through in 5 minutes. Let's jump into it. Story number 1, the official earnings season is over, and pricing power, labour shortages and high input costs were the key themes of the last month, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I think that's right. The ability to pass on higher costs to consumers was among the most rewarded attribute of any company that reported. The best example is probably Qantas. You might not like the fact that Qantas is charging higher airfares, but people are paying up and investors love it. Its share price is up 10% since its earnings announcement. The flip side to that, like Coles and Woolies, they disappointed somewhat because it is much harder for them to pass through those higher input costs. Liquor retailer Endeavour Group fitted into that category a bit. Also, what were the standouts? Hard to go past BHP and its $21 billion underlying profit and bumper dividend. Woodside is another worth a mention. It did very well due to higher LNG prices and the fact that it could include some of the merged BHP petroleum business in its bottom line. And the coal companies, their moment to shine has come. Whitehaven Coal was probably the best of them, a profit of $2 billion. What a turnaround story that one is. Any duds? Not really duds. I suppose some of the retailers didn't do so well, particularly the online retailers. Some of them were probably duds. Commonwealth Bank was only one of the big banks to report. Its share price has been trending down ever since it did so. Telstra share price got a decent boost after its earnings announcement, but it's come right back over the past 10 days or so. CSL share price fell after its earnings announcement. Wesfarmers has fallen back. Just those big companies, some of those big companies, Commonwealth Bank, Telstra, CSL, Wesfarmers, didn't quite shoot the lights out.
Okay, on to story number 2, Sean. And yesterday, National Cabinet met, and there are some big changes to the COVID rules.
That's right, very exciting. First one, the COVID isolation period will fall from 7 to 5 days from the 9th of September. The second one, paid pandemic leave will end on September 20 as scheduled. There was a real push to extend that. That hasn't happened. The third one, people won't have to wear masks on planes. It just feels, post the National Cabinet meeting yesterday afternoon, that we're just slowly getting back to normal.
All right, story 3. It was a tough year, Sean, for the Future Fund, with total assets falling back below $200 billion thanks to falling investment markets.
That's right. The Sovereign Wealth Fund, which we all own, posted a negative 1.2% return thanks to a 3% fall in the final quarter. Chair Peter Costello, who actually set the fund up as treasurer, said the result was pleasing given global stocks and bonds fell by more than 10% and Aussie shares dropped 6.5%. So how come the fund went back 1% when everything else went back more? Well, it put money into what's known as alternative assets. It's a bit of a catch-all phrase, but it means away from bonds and shares. So it might be in private equity investments or hedge funds or infrastructure. Anyway, that did the Future Fund, which of course we all own, a great service last financial year.
Yeah, sure did. Story number 4, Sean, it is a very exciting day in Canberra today. The Jobs and Skills Summit kicks off. It is a big test for the ability of Prime Minister Anthony Albanese to try and find something like a consensus between business and unions.
It'll be fascinating to watch. It's been a pretty good lead-in the few days before the Jobs and Skills Summit because some of the big business groups like the Business Council of Australia and the small business peak body COSBOA, along with the ACTU, the main peak union body, have been sitting together and negotiating. So hopefully we'll get something out of it. There's around 140 attendees from different segments of the community attending. Now, there will be many from the union movement, and that's triggered some criticism of the summit already. But generally, there's a view that this is a good thing. Already some deals have been struck, and I'm sure they'll be announced over the next 48 hours or so. By the end of it, the Prime Minister Anthony Albanese will come out with some sort of communique, and hopefully it is a path forward for better industrial relations.
All right, last one. Story number 5, Mikhail Gorbachev, the last leader of the Soviet Union, who won a Nobel Peace Prize actually in 1990, has died.
Yes, he was much admired outside the old USSR and much maligned inside Russia. His policies of openness, otherwise known as glasnost, or perestroika, which means restructuring, over his 7 years in power resulted in the collapse of the USSR into 15 separate nations. He didn't set out to break up the USSR. It's just what happened. He did things like free political prisoners, allowed open debate, multi-candidate elections, freedom to travel, halted religious expression, reduced nuclear arsenals, all those pictures of him with Ronald Reagan. It really did end the USSR, which is something current leader Vladimir Putin is determined to reverse. But those reforms also collapsed the Soviet economy, bringing hardship to its 290 million people and the return of breadlines. Mr. Gorbachev was 91 years old.
All right, there we go. The top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
It's Thursday, the 1st of September 2022. Remember to hit follow on the podcast. And if 5 minutes isn't enough for you, you can find our longer daily show, which is called Fear and Greed, wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was the Fast Five by Fear and Greed. Have a great day.